Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a look at giving, but maybe not in the way you usually think about it. Is it just another transaction, something you
Yeah.
tick off a list?
Or it could be something, well, much more profound. That's what we want to explore.
Yeah, like an expression of real emotion, maybe purpose, even something that changes us.
That's exactly it. That's our mission today, to really unpack the true heart of giving. We want to figure out what really motivates generosity and, how it actually reshapes us.
It's not just about the money then.
Not at all. We see it as an act of love, an act of worship, certainly thanksgiving and faith too.
Okay, so where are we drawing this from? What are our sources for this deep dive?
We've got some really powerful stuff lined up. We'll start in the Old Testament, looking closely at 1 Chronicles 29. It's often called like the most detailed but also concise description of biblical giving from back then.
Right.
Then we'll jump to the New Testament. Key passages in 2 Corinthians chapters 8 and 9, which really lay out the theology of giving. But it's not just ancient texts.
Oh, good.
No, we'll mix in some really quite surprising modern day stories too. Real experiences that bring these ideas to life.
Okay, cool. So the goal for you listening is to maybe get a new perspective, move past just the how-to of giving.
Exactly, to grasp the why, the transformative why behind it, and maybe, just maybe, it'll inspire a different approach to how you handle your own resources.
That sounds good. So 1 Chronicles 29, King David. This seems like a big example to start with.
It's huge. David's personal provision for building the temple.
Oh.
It's extraordinary. The list of materials is just staggering.
Like, what are we talking about?
We're talking gold for gold things, silver for silver, bronze, iron, wood. I mean, massive amounts. Plus quantities of onyx, stones for setting, antimony, all sorts of precious stones, marble.
Wow. So he wasn't holding back.
Not at all. He poured his own treasures into it. And that illustrates a key principle right there. Leaders need to lead in giving. David didn't just tell people what to do. He set the standard. He gave the precept and the example. He led the way.
That idea of leading by example reminds me of this anecdote I heard. Really powerful.
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, so it was after the COVID lockdowns, right? A church was trying to pay off its mortgage principal, big project. They invited this guest pastor to speak, someone known for being a big giver himself, a leader in that area.
Okay, makes sense. Get some inspiration.
Right. But the speaker telling the story, he realized the sermon, which was about leaders being the first partakers of the fruit, it wasn't just for the congregation.
Oh.
Yeah, he felt it was aimed right at him. He'd invited the guy to inspire everyone else, not to, put him on the spot.
Huh. Okay, so what happened?
Well, this guest pastor shared his own story. He'd once pledged this huge amount for his own church project, like the equivalent of an average Canadian family's annual income.
Whoa. That's significant.
And he was apparently totally prepared to sell his house to make good on that pledge.
Sell his house.
Yeah. So imagine hearing that story, and then you feel this nudge, this inner voice telling you to match that pledge.
That's Chad. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the speaker, he didn't have the money. Plus, his wife, who he described as the real giver, the one who manages their finances and has money hidden in mysterious places,
Uh-huh. The financially savvy one?
Right. She was away at the time. So he's in this dilemma.
What did you do?
He called her, told her what happened, the pledge amount, and her reaction, it was immediate.
He agreed.
Instantly. He said, with her heart, her gifting, and her diligence, she just committed, said they'd pay it from their retirement savings. Savings they'd been putting aside specifically to build a house in Jamaica.
From their retirement, for the house.
Yeah.
Wow, that's faith in action right there.
It really is. And then the outcome. About a month later, the speaker felt he heard this message like, I've never asked you for something that I haven't already given you. And because the Toronto real estate market was, as he put it, insane at the time, their home value had shot up. It had appreciated, get this, 10 times what he had pledged.
10 times.
Yeah. So they could sell the house, make good on the pledge easily, and still have more than enough for their move to Jamaica.
That's incredible. It really speaks to something deeper, doesn't it? Because let's be honest, we all know people who don't seem to give much, maybe don't give to God, and they still seem to do fine.
Right. Beautiful home, nice car, great job, all that.
Exactly. But this story, and connecting it back to what Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. It seems to work both ways, right? Your heart follows your treasure, but maybe your treasure follows your heart too, when that heart is devoted, like in this story.
Yeah, it seems like when the giving lines up with that devotion, the resources can follow in really unexpected ways. Which brings us right back to David in 1 Chronicles 29. His heart was definitely in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He explicitly says he gave from his treasure of my own of gold and silver because of his devotion to the house of my God. His heart was clearly, as you said, in the house of his God.
And it wasn't just him, right? The passage emphasizes this idea of willingness.
Yes. Verse 5 talks about giving as willingly consecrating yourself to the Lord. It's an act of devotion, not just duty.
And the leaders followed suit.
They did. Verse 6 says they made free will offerings. They set that visible example. And the result? The people rejoiced because they had given with a whole heart. They had offered freely to the Lord.
With a whole heart, freely. That sounds joyful. It reminds me of the New Testament idea of being a cheerful giver.
Exactly. It's a beautiful foreshadowing. And think about this. This giving, this massive outpouring, it was in addition to whatever regular obligations they had.
Like the tithe, some estimate that system was around, 23% or something back then?
Yeah, the various tithes and offerings could add up significantly. So this was above and beyond that. This wasn't just fulfilling a requirement.
Yeah.
It was a really significant intentional act.
Deliberate.
Driven by will, willingness, love,
Yeah.
and rejoicing.
Not, as you sometimes hear, giving and crying.
Definitely not moping. It
Right.
was joyful, which connects to another key verse there, verse 14.
What does that say?
David prays, "For all things come from you, and of your own have we given you." It's this fundamental understanding that we don't ultimately own anything. We're stewards.
Like conduits or a pipe.
Exactly. A pipe through which God's resources can flow. It shifts the whole perspective from ownership to stewardship.
And it seems like this kind of giving is also like a test.
A heart test. Absolutely. Verse 17 says, God tests the heart and has pleasure in uprightness. Giving reveals what's truly in the heart. And people back then, they gave what they had. Maybe it was gold, maybe silver, but maybe it was also their skills, their talents, their abilities.
Whatever they had to offer.
Right. And the key was doing it with a joyful heart, a real desire to give. So the big insight there is, when your heart's really in it, giving isn't a chore. It's actually easy. It's joyful.
David really got that, didn't he? His prayer at the end there.
Yeah, in verse 18, praying that God would keep forever such purposes and thoughts in the hearts of your people and direct their hearts towards you. It always comes back to the heart.
It makes me think of another simpler story, but maybe it illustrates the same point about the heart dictating the action.
Go on.
The same person from the earlier story, he bought his wife a new ring for their 40th anniversary. He saw the expense purely as expressing his love, no hesitation, just, this is for her.
Nice, a gesture of love.
But then completely unplanned, his wife saw a ring for him, and she just insisted on buying it right then and there. He didn't need it, it wasn't the plan, but...
Her heart took over.
Exactly, he said, her heart of love dictated that she was going to buy me that ring right now. There was no thought of expense, it just flowed from that love.
That's a beautiful illustration. Money becomes just a tool. Right? A way to express that love, make the transaction happen. It's not the master. It's meant to flow where God, or in this case, love, directs it through the pipeline.
Okay, so we've seen this strong Old Testament foundation, leadership, willingness, joy, the heart being central. How does this carry over, or maybe deepen, when we shift to the New Testament? You mentioned 2 Corinthians.
Yeah, that's a great transition because the New Testament really builds on this, framing giving primarily through the lens of grace. It's not just, again, a mechanical act of tithing, though that principle remains valuable for many.
So grace is the driving force.
Very much so. And the example Paul uses in 2 Corinthians 8, the Macedonian churches, is just mind-blowing.
What was their situation?
They were in deep trouble. Paul talks about a severe test of affliction and extreme poverty. Logically, they should have been focused entirely on survival.
Makes sense.
But paradoxically, out of that hardship came an abundance of joy, which then overflowed in a wealth of generosity. It makes absolutely no sense by human standards.
Poverty and affliction leading to abundant joy and generosity. How?
It's incredible. Paul says they gave according to their means, which is amazing enough in poverty, but then adds, and beyond their means, willingly.
Beyond their means.
Yeah. And get this, they were actually begging Paul earnestly for the favor of taking part in the relief of the saints. They weren't being pressured. They were pleading for the chance to give.
Begging to give money they didn't really have. That points to something supernatural almost.
It really does. Paul suggests it's a spirit of giving that goes beyond just our faulty, frail humanity. And the root of it, verse 5 says, they gave themselves first to the Lord.
So the giving of money was just an outflow of that deeper commitment.
Precisely. It's a heart issue first. Total consecration. That's why Paul then challenges the Corinthians, who are gifted in many areas: faith, speech, knowledge, earnestness, love. He challenges them to excel in this act of grace also.
But he's careful not to command it, right?
Exactly. He explicitly says, I say this not as a command, but to prove by the earnestness of others, the Macedonians, that your love also is genuine. Giving becomes a proof, a demonstration of authentic love.
Or to test the genuineness of their love.
Right. And then Paul points to the ultimate example of giving, the ultimate giver.
Is it?
Yeah, 2 Corinthians 8:9. For you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that though he was rich, yet for your sake he became poor, that you by his poverty might become rich. He gave everything, willingly.
For the joy set before him, as Hebrews says, providing for our deepest need through the biggest sacrifice.
Exactly. He modeled grace-driven giving perfectly.
Okay, so that's chapter 8. What about chapter 9? Does it shift focus?
Chapter 9 continues the theme, but brings in this principle of sowing and reaping, connecting it directly to the heart's attitude.
The sowing and reaping idea, like you reap what you sow.
Pretty much. Whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. Whoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. It's presented as a general principle of life applied here to generosity.
And the heart attitude comes in where?
Verse 7 is absolutely crucial, probably the most quoted verse on New Testament giving. Each one must give as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver.
Decided in his heart. So it's an internal decision, not external pressure.
Right. And crucially, not reluctantly or under compulsion. This isn't meant as an escape hatch to avoid giving, but it powerfully underlines the motivation. God isn't interested in forced giving, whether in the Old Testament with David's joyful people or here in the New. He desires cheerful, willing hearts.
But what if you want to be cheerful, but the resources just aren't there, or you feel stretched?
That's where God's enabling grace comes in. Paul immediately follows up by saying, God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that having all sufficiency in all things at all times, you may abound in every good work.
So God provides the means to abound in giving.
That's the promise. He supplies seed to the sower and bread for food. He even multiplies your seed for sowing. Maybe that's a raise, a promotion, an unexpected gift, who knows? Specifically, so you can give abundantly. He enables the generosity he desires.
And the result of all this cheerful, enabled, abundant giving.
It's not just that needs are met, though that's vital. Paul says this generosity is not only supplying the needs of the saints, but is also overflowing in many thanksgivings to God.
Thanksgiving from the people receiving help, obviously.
Yes, but also implicitly from the givers themselves. They're overflowing with thanks to God for the privilege, the ability, the joy of being conduits of his grace. It's a cycle of grace, giving, and gratitude.
That's a really rich picture. Okay, let's talk practicality for a moment. We've talked about the heart, grace, joy. What about tithing, the 10% thing? Where does that fit in, especially hearing these personal stories?
Yeah, that's a common question. And the speaker whose anecdotes we've shared, he views tithing the 10% as a very good base, a starting point.
A base, not necessarily the ceiling.
Right. He points out its historical roots. going back even before the law, like with Abraham and Jacob. And its practical function today in supporting the local church and its ministries is undeniable.
So even if it's not explicitly commanded in the same way in the New Testament,
He sees it as a strong suggestion, a principle with real wisdom and significant impact. A good discipline, a good foundation to build on with that grace-motivated, cheerful giving we just talked about.
Okay. And he had a personal story connected to tithing specifically, didn't he? A
Yeah.
really dramatic one.
Oh, yeah. A real comeback story. This is back in 1991. He described it as a horrific downturn in the economy in Canada. Things got really bad for him personally.
How bad?
He lost his house to foreclosure, was drowning in debt. His wife had to quit her job because their son was very sick with asthma, needing constant care. They ended up living literally in the dining room of my dad's house.
Wow. That's hitting rock bottom.
Pretty much. And in that desperate situation, he admitted he made a mistake. He stopped tithing. Just felt he couldn't afford it.
Understandable, maybe from a human perspective.
Maybe. But his wife stepped in. Her counsel was firm. Don't ever do that. Pay your tithes. Don't ever rob God. Strong words.
She held the line, so what did he do?
Despite the crushing debt, the impossible circumstances, he listened. He decided to start tithing again, right on January 1st of that year.
Okay.
And the results were, well, pretty immediate and dramatic. By the end of that first month back tithing, he received this award at work he'd never gotten before, a heavy hitter award for top performance in his field.
That recognition, that's great.
It came with a check equivalent to 6 months of his tithes.
6 months in the first month. Wow.
Yeah, talk about catching your attention. And it didn't stop there. The following year, another top award, the Golden Glove Award, another check.
Okay, what happened with that one?
This check amount was almost exactly what a sister in their church who was also struggling had loaned him earlier when he was desperate. It covered the loan repayment plus a little extra.
And the extra.
Turned out the extra amount was the precise figure she still owed on her own pledge for new carpet at the church. He was able to give it back to her, allowing her to fulfill her commitment.
Incredible. It reminds me of that wisdom his father gave him, you mentioned.
Exactly. Never steal a blessing from your brother or sister. By being faithful in his own giving, even when it seemed impossible, he became the channel for her blessing too.
It really connects back to that idea of being a conduit, and maybe also to Jesus watching people give at the temple.
The widow's mites. Yeah, Mark 12. That's a powerful connection. When you feel like you have nothing, like that widow or like the speaker in his dad's dining room, whatever you do decide to give, it feels significant. It costs something.
It's not about the amount, but the proportion, the sacrifice.
Right. And the speaker felt that kind of significant giving that costs you, it catches your attention, gets you focused, but he also believed it catches God's attention too.
Yeah.
Not because God needs the money, but because it reveals the heart's true priority and trust.
So wrapping all this up then, David, Macedonians, Paul's theology, these personal stories, what's the main takeaway for someone listening right now?
I think the clearest message across all these sources is that giving truly is a matter of the heart. It's meant to be an expression, an outflow of love, of devotion, of faith. It's not about compulsion or just ticking a box.
We saw that with David's leadership, right? And the Macedonians' crazy generosity.
Absolutely. And Jesus as the ultimate example. Even the personal stories highlight breakthrough happening when giving became willing, joyful, significant, even when it hurt. It's about commitment from the heart.
So the encouragement then is what?
Maybe just to take some time. Sit down, maybe as a family, maybe just you. No pressure, no guilt trip. But thoughtfully consider, decide in your heart how you want to approach giving. Remembering, as the sources suggest, that God opens our hearts to this.
Okay. And you mentioned leaving us with a final thought, something provocative.
Yeah, just something to chew on. If giving is really about the heart, about joyful generosity, consider how prioritizing that might shift other priorities. Maybe spending less on, fancy coffees or fast food, not out of legalism, but just because the joy of giving becomes more compelling.
Shifting priorities based on where the heart finds joy.
Exactly. And take it a step further. What if a whole community really embraced this? giving so joyfully, so willingly, so abundantly. Could we ever reach a point where leaders might have to say, like Moses did back when the tabernacle was being built, okay, folks, thank you. Stop bringing in stuff we have too much.
Wow. Imagine that.
What could be accomplished then? How would that level of collective, heart-led giving transform communities, transform ministries? Wouldn't that just be the ultimate expression of thanks to God for his inexpressible gift? Something to think about